Hello, I am Editor Than Mai. I will provide you with the latest information of the day, kids. Marriage. Young adults are delaying these key milestones. Young adults are prioritizing economic security over marriage and having children, according to a recent report from the Census Bureau. These shifting priorities reflect the burden of rising living costs, such as housing, food and travel. In 1975, about 45% of young adults ages 25 to 34 had moved out of their parents' home, were working, had married and had children. 50 years later, less than 25% of adults this age had done the same. Over the decades, the most common milestones shifted from family to economic ones, being in the labor force and living independently, but not being married or having kids, wrote Paul Hemes and Jonathan Vesper, census statisticians and authors of the paper. As of 2024, about 28% of young adults were living on their own with jobs, the most common milestone pattern among people ages 25 to 34. The combination of moving out, having kids and marrying is no longer the most common milestone in young adulthood, the Census Bureau found. Experiencing key milestones tied to economic independence and family formation can influence how young men and women develop their identity as adults. Hemes and Vesper added, young adults having kids more than 2 decades ago, the average age of a first-time mother was 24.9. Now, the average woman or birthing person is having their first child at 27.5 years old, a record high in the United States, based on census data. Over the past few decades, and especially since the Great Recession of 2008, economic factors and societal expectations have led more people to conclude that it's normal to have kids in your 30s. According to Alison Gemmell, a professor of family and reproductive health at Johns Hopkins University, who was previously interviewed by USA Today, young adults getting married. The average age for a first marriage in 2024 was 30.2 years for men and 28.6 for women, according to data from the Census Bureau. 50 years ago, the average age for a first-time marriage was 23.5 for men and 21.3 for women. The data doesn't fully explain if these shifts are temporary or permanent. Factors including growing student debt, remote work and changing views about parenthood could influence these cultural milestones in the coming decades. Young adults living at home, rising inflation, increasing student debt, and unmanageable housing and rent prices are some indicators of why young people have chosen to live with their parents. Young adults are experiencing the traditional markers of adulthood, such as leaving the parental home, starting a family, and establishing stable careers later in life than previous generations did. According to a report from the Census Bureau, despite daunting market conditions, America's youngest generation of adults is managing to break into the housing market in growing numbers. Members of Generation Z, aged 13 to 28, came of age during the economic upheaval of the COVID-19 pandemic. In the years since, home prices have surged and the nation's housing shortage has deepened, conditions that risk leading some young adults to give up on the dream of homeownership altogether. While homeownership remains elusive for many, regardless of age, Gen Z now accounts for 1 in 4 loans issued to first-time home buyers, according to data from financial services company Intercontinental Exchange. A Redfin report from January 2024 found that Gen Z's homeownership rate is outpacing that of millennials and Gen X's at the same age. According to a CNN report, please like and subscribe to wait for the next information. Goodbye and see you again.